All right, yo, what it is? How's it going? I think I saw you message me right at the end of my stream last night, and I had already was like in the middle of stopping the stream. So I appreciate you saying hi and coming by again. That's awesome. Um, I am still getting some stuff set up here as I am still kind of learning. All right, I think that looks good. I think YouTube chat should be available. YouTube, if you're out there, we should be rocking low latency now, which means it shouldn't take me like 30 seconds to a minute to see someone message me. What a manual and pain in the butt process to get that working. But I think that's good. All right, so I want to make a quick round of audio checks here. Oh, I need to start recording. Oh man, something stuck in my throat. All right, let's do a quick check here. Weird. Okay, nope, that's not it. That's awkward. How come you have time to stream so often? I mean, it's the weekend, so I don't have anything going on this weekend. So I have a little bit of free time, and I'm kind of excited to get some programming going. And then I'm not streaming that much. I'm only streaming for about 2-3 hours a night. Otherwise, I'm, busy working or doing other things. And I'm putting forth the time and effort specifically for streaming in the hopes that I can, turn it into a little bit more than just a couple hours in the evening. Okay, it sounds like my YouTube is working quickly now, so that's good. We're good there. I wanted to check the Twitch audio real quick. All right, Twitch audio. How are things sounding here? We got some music in the background, but it's not overbearing. All right, I think we're good. I think everything is solid. We need more streams, actually. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many people trying to make it as streamers. I'm not too stressed about that per se. But I've had some younger guys who I've worked with personally who have really appreciated what I've had to say and teach them and recommended I try and do some streaming and, go over some of the stuff I've taught them, but on stream to see if there would be anyone else who would be interested in learning like C++ and how I go about doing C++. So, it's a win if one person learns something, right? So speaking of C++ deep dives, after talking to some guys, some of the viewers last night, I've been actively working towards building a game. Haven't made a lot of progress. I spent a couple months building something up in Godot. Hey, Nathaniel. And that Godot project, while it worked, left a lot for me to desire with like workflow productivity using Godot. I don't really like being dependent on the Godot editor. And so I was like, well, what would be cool is if I show off building up the game almost from scratch using just C++, right? And then that would give me an opportunity to kind of go over some of the C++ concepts that I use in my day-to-day programming life. And, I am starting to observe that a lot of you who are showing up to my streams are probably like on the verge of graduating or learning coding or just generally interested in seeing what C++ has to offer. So instead of continuing to use Godot, I'm making a swap over to C++. So last night, I was looking at Flutter just to see what it provided from an API perspective on how to build a game. And after digging into its code, I realized, oh, it's very straightforward. It's very object-oriented, polymorphism, stuff like that. And I'm like, wait a minute, I could just write this in C++ and give you guys an opportunity to see how I would go about doing it. Well, is my solution going to be the best? Is it going to be the most correct? No, but it's my solution, and I like it. So at least gives you one point of view on how to do software development. Oh no, Nathaniel, you're using emotes, and for whatever reason, the tool I'm using isn't rendering them. Why is that? What does that show up on YouTube? How does that show up? Wonder why that doesn't work. That's gonna get annoying real quick. And I'll feel bad. I feel like you should be able to use emotes. Oh, it's YouTube only, but I would expect this tool to still be able to show it. That's not fair. Like, don't other streamers have both YouTube and Twitch showing, and you're able to like see emotes? So that tells me I'm doing something wrong. I'll worry about it off stream. That'll be something I'll do another day. We'll figure it out. All right, so C++. After talking to some of the viewers last night and realizing, like, hey, this is where their interests lie and they want to see some active, like, C++ development, I have a couple of ideas. I want to build up a game engine or at least an application framework from somewhat scratch and use it to make my game. Now, normally you hear what I would say is a fairly correct opinion that you shouldn't make a game engine. You should make a game, right? A game engine is difficult. It is time consuming. It is once you get to areas of it that are difficult, it becomes demotivating. And you could spend hundreds of hours on making a game engine and have no game to show for it, which is also demotivating. So I always, and you'll hear all kinds of like developer influencers or streamers say correctly that you should focus on making the game first, and then the game engine comes with it, right? So I'm going to try and do some of that, but I am going to start with some core components I know I want to make making a game easier for me. And you're going to see that today. I'm going to be working on building up the core engine loop, right? So like event handling, updates, fixed physics time updates, rendering updates. What else? Startup, like initialization, that kind of thing. The object tree structure. Probably do some signals and slots, and then if I have time, I'll also start looking at like a property system. And a property system will be like basically, what's a good example? I want a property system so that I could potentially implement my own like serialization or parsing, maybe even scripting. And I haven't decided if I want to go like the custom scripting route or if I just want to like use something like Lua and call it a day. I guess we'll see where the difficulties lie. But that's kind of where I am going to be today. I have a lot of time today until basically I hear from friends who want to like hang out and do something. I don't really have much else going on today, so this might be just a really heads down coding session. Can you play what, my game? Maybe eventually, if I can ever actually make it and not just sit here and make a game engine the whole time. Another thing I'm eventually going to want to do is make it possible for a user to clone this repo. So this project is available on my GitHub page. You should be able to find my GitHub page and my links in my bio somewhere. Called Awen. You can clone it. Currently today, you should be able to build it on Windows, Linux, Mac, and WebAssembly for the browser. But my goal is to make it where you can use CMake and possibly even like the VC package manager to automatically pull in the dependency Awen and get it up and running with your project if you so choose to use it. I mean, I'm going to use it. If you use it, that's up to you. No, I don't do Roblox. That's Roblox was after my time, if you will. I grew up on... God, what did I grow up on? I mean, I kind of did a little bit of Minecraft. The original Minecraft, the Java-based Minecraft from back in the day. Before Microsoft owned it, but I didn't really do any... I was a Halo player. Halo, RuneScape, like the original RuneScape on the JGX website. EverQuest, Call of Duty, all that fun stuff. Oh gosh, books to become better at programming. Books will... I am a C++ focused engineer. That's been my career. So the only books, there's only like really 2 books I recommend for C++ developers. Mainly because they're the only books I've ever read. Most of my knowledge has come from either... actually, most of my knowledge has come from personal research. You know, reading articles, watching YouTube videos, C++ conference videos, and just general programming on the job. Effective C++ by Scott Myers. If you ever find that book, that had a profound impact on how I write software, making software easy to use, hard to use incorrectly. I kind of live by that now. The other one is a fairly well-known one. I forget the names of the authors, but it's generally referred to as the Gang of Four design patterns. Some of the design patterns are probably outdated at this point, but it's still worth knowing like what a design pattern is and why they are useful or when to use one, that kind of thing. I won't be able to help you with the Minecraft stuff, Nathan. I haven't touched Minecraft in, gosh, 15 years, 20 years. I don't know. How long has Minecraft been out? All right. I'm going to start typing. As you see here, I already got the rule of 5 handled. Especially if you're going to define a virtual class that you're going to inherit from, you gotta do the rule of 5. Our destructor... I think that's good for now. So I think the next step is I probably want to handle children. Oh. Stand by. I've got people messaging me and someone's wanting to potentially help contribute to my engine. Someone who's worked with me before. Might be interesting to see someone else work on it and me provide feedback to them. All right. So anyway, I wanted to get this object implementation up and running. This is going to be a pretty straightforward C++ game engine. I'm not too stressed about high performance. So, pointers are probably going to be everywhere versus like keeping everything data local, cache coherent. I have found for a lot of applications I make, the performance issues that you run into are almost always in the graphics and not like how you're managing data. And so building an application up from scratch with data as a focus could potentially make your software more difficult to build up an application. So if we ever do need to worry about data, we can address that after the fact. But the game I have in mind isn't going to be that complex. I don't think. Famous last words, right? So unique pointer is interesting because you have to move it. So I almost want I almost wonder if I should do this. Actually, I bet I could just do a reference. We're not returning this. That's insane. So I guess if child, if not child. Oh, see, that is the situation that would fail. So maybe we can't return a reference here. Yeah, that could fail. So this has to be a pointer. So if not child, we're going to return a null pointer. Because if this fails, then we need to know that the result is null. Now, we could get to a point where we're using standard expected here. But for this function itself, I do want access to the object that gets added. So that's why null pointer kind of works here. We don't do pushback anymore. We do in place back. But before we move the child into the vector, we need to save. We need to give it we need to get its pointer and return it. So then once the unique pointer is moved into the container, we could still return a pointer to what it's pointing to. And we'll probably want a signal for when a child is added or removed. Added or removed. But before that, I also want to make sure I handle... this is for the base type object, but eventually, once we derive from object, we're also going to want to be able to add any type. So we'll use some templates here. And to do that, we're actually going to make use of a concept, I think. So I'm going to include concepts. We're going to forward declare the object. I don't know 100% how this is going to behave for C++ modules if I can like forward declare this object inside this export statement. So we're all going to learn together what might happen here. Wait, standard derived from? Is that a thing? May have just learned something new. Because I would have used is base of. Oh, it's a concept. is base of and is convertible. Is satisfied if and only if base is a derived type that is either... So this would be type T, this would be type object. So can I just use that? Standard derive from? I don't think I've ever used this before. So basically what I want is auto add child. Oh, I want to do a template standard derived from object derived. No, T object. Oh, that's not going to work. Yeah, that's not going to work. I think I still need to do the concept. Standard derived from... Well, to be fair, I don't know what I mean, I'm aware of CUDA, but I've never written CUDA. So that's a topic you're an expert on compared to me. So they're using this in the context of static assert. I want to use this in the context of a template type. So maybe I do need to wrap this in my own concept. So I guess I will try that like I was originally doing. So this would be like template type name T concept type object equals standard derived from, something like that. So then, yeah. So then this type object, I should be able to use like this, template type object T. Do I need to handle args? Yeah, I guess I would. Except I don't... So as long as type T derives from type object, or is of type object, we will make it for you. Get the pointer. So here's where I think I can just do... No, I guess I can't. Never mind. I guess we do have to do it this way. I was going to just call this function, but we need to keep our type information. I'm going to do X here. So add child, make unique, save the pointer, add it, return it. So that should do the trick. See if it compiles. Okay, so object identifier not found. Oh. Okay, there we go. So that compiles. Let's get a quick test up and running just to verify this is good and that it makes sense. So we have a parent. I also want to handle the template. So we'll test it with a derived object. We add it, we pass in a value to make sure it gets initialized. That looks good. See if it compiles. It compiles. Let's make sure the test runs. Oh, this is so cool. I'm using CMake and gtest, so I can literally just click this to run this test, and it will tell me if it passes or if it's running. So it ran the test, it passed. I can click here to run this test. It ran it, it passed. Hey, Jan. Yes, I am early today. For once, I have a free weekend or a free Saturday, so I figured I would get up early and start coding. I had a conversation with some viewers last night who were interested in seeing a C++ game engine written to make my game versus using a framework that already exists. And I was looking at Flutter Flame and seeing how they were doing things and realized that it was really straightforward and easy. So I was like, you know what? I'll just do this in C++ myself. So that's what we're doing. And I want to get a lot done. So I apologize if I am not immediately answering your guys' questions. When I look up, I will get to it, or I'll try to. But I do want to try and like knock out a bunch of code. All right, so I feel pretty confident about this. That looks good. It's a good starting point. It doesn't handle all edge cases for sure, but that's okay. I want to working and child. Let's get that committed. Okay, so we can add children. So I should be able to get the children. I should be able to remove the children. Kind of just makes sense. It goes hand in hand. Ooh, you know what? I should also document. I gotta say, this is one thing I really like about the AI integration is just the documenting, especially for functions that are kind of straightforward. All right. So for removing a child, I have to think because we're using unique pointers and not like shared references. When I remove a child, if I did something like someone else has to have access to the child in order to call this. And in my mind, I'm thinking from like an API perspective for like ease of use and like how much you have to type. If you have access to the child to remove it from a parent, that tells me that you should just be able to remove from the child itself. But the problem here is because it's a unique pointer, if I remove this child, after this function leaves, we don't have access to that child anymore because maybe you want to remove your child or group of children, but still like maintain ownership over them. They're just not a part of the tree. So we need to make sure we account for that. So what I typically do for something like that is instead of remove child, which requires having like access to two objects to do the work, I will just do auto remove and have it return the unique pointer of the child. Now that gets a little wonky when you like have a raw pointer and you call remove and it returns the unique pointer. Trying to think. That does get kind of clunky. But I might be okay with it. I mean, it's my engine, right? I can do what I want with it. In order for I'm missing a piece. In order to do any of this, we have to have a parent. So when we add a child, oh, here we go. We set our parent to this. So then when we go to remove a child, we need to make sure that our parent isn't null. Oh, it's already doing all of it for us. Except I don't want to do the old find if way of doing it. I want to use ranges. We're on C++ 23 now. We can do this. So this becomes something more like auto it equals ranges find if. It cleans up the code just a smidge. We don't use dot end. We use standard end. All right, so ranges find if it's not found, or if it's found, we will erase it. Set the parent to null. We move it because this is an iterator into a vector, and that iterator is pointing to a unique pointer. So we're moving ownership out of the container and into this scope. Then we erase the iterator. Set to null, then we remove child, and then we return the removed child. So that makes sense. That works. The only thing I might do differently here is invert the if to keep it a little more consistent. So if, yeah, here we go, like this. And then I don't need to do this. Then we do something like that. So that gives us remove and gives us access to this. And then I think this is interesting because calling remove, I almost want it to be like optional on whether you want to handle the return type, because you might just want to remove the object and then also expect it to be destroyed. The other option here is creating two functions, one that removes and returns the type, and then one that doesn't return the type. Let's see here. Remove. So let's test. Run it. It's passing. Creates a parent, adds a child. We have the child. It's not null. Remove. We have the remove child. Remove child is not null. Remove child is the same child that this is pointing to. That makes sense. All that looks good. Cool. Do we test for parent being null? We don't. Oh, because we don't have an API for it. My bad. My bad. All right. Test still passes. We're good. Parent is null. That's good. So we have parent, we have remove, we have add, and we also need the ability to get the children. I don't think we need this. I think we can do... Nah. There we go. We can do this. This sentence here is redundant. I'm already passing a const reference. You won't be able to modify it. You won't even be able to copy it because it's a vector of unique pointers. Cool. All right, so get children. That's good enough for now. Eventually, we'll probably want a way to like collect children of a specific type. I guess I could add that in now if we wanted, where you pass in like a template parameter and it would return a collection of children of that type. We could go one step further and allow the user to pass in a lambda, almost like a visitor pattern, to define how you want to collect children, right? A more generic solution. We could see what that looks like real quick. So it might be something like template type name auto get children T. So we're basically going to pass in a functor of some kind. And what would that do? That would return a list of vector of type. I guess we could do type T, couldn't we? And it's just, well, see, this is specifically doing dynamic cast. I wanna do an actual like functor. And if it's true, collect the child. No, this won't work. We might be able to refine this though. So I'm gonna do this for now. So then what we're doing here is we're going to loop over our children. And then if x child.get, there we go. It still wants me to cast. That's hilarious. Probably do something like that, maybe. Do I even need to do a template here? Can I just do auto now? Are we living in the world where we can just do auto? Let's find out. Does this compile? Holy crap. That is insane. Well, there you have it, folks. You don't have to use, you don't need to know how to use templates anymore. All you need to know is to use auto wherever you do need templates and let the compiler do it for you. Holy crap. That's insane. I mean, I still need it here because of, I need this to fail compilation if you pass in a type that isn't derived from object. But this is cool. Wait, can I just return auto? Nah. Can I? Or do I just not specify the return type? Nah, right? Who needs return types? That's gonna blow my... Uh-oh. What's the access language models provided by... Sure, why not? Oh my god. This actually hurts my soul, not having a return type here. I feel like this is a little bit more self-documenting, even if you don't necessarily need to do it. I think if this was like self-contained within my file and I wasn't exposing it as like a public API, I would probably not bother, but man, I don't know. I've never written C++ like this before, so I'm kind of learning as I go. It is kind of cool though. Even if it's a little scary. I'm not modifying any internal state, so this needs to be a const. This does modify internal state. Okay, so get children with predicate appears to be working. We add 2 children to the parent, make sure they're not null. We call get children if the children's equal to child 1, return true. So this should contain one vector, a size 1, and then that child should be child 1. Cool. Okay. So this is a good point to probably switch over to Linux real quick and make sure things are still compiling, and also make sure Clang Tidy is happy. Because Clang Tidy, it can be a fickle lady, if you will. Let's build for Clang debug. I just realized I've been in Discord, my friend's Discord, for over 3 hours, and not a single person came to visit me. Rude. All right, let's see how bad Clang Tidy is. I think it's going to call me out on you in the test for using index operators. Yep, it's not liking some stuff. it doesn't like implicit bool conversion. Oh. So for pointers, it wants you to use... I'm okay with this. I mean, this is honestly how I usually... accept equals. If equals null, return null pointer. Readability, implicit bool conversion. Member variable on destroyed has public visibility. CP4 guidelines, non-private member variables, and classes. That's fair. I could... How do I want to handle this? Because I could wrap this in a function where I could honestly turn this into like auto... What? Auto on... Let's see. No, it would be like... Yeah. Auto on destroyed. Auto X. Connection. And then this becomes... something like this. So I could do that. That would keep the API kind of clean. What is it trying to do here? And then what else is it yelling at me about? Member variable destroyed has public visibility. Oh, yep. This is correct. Definitely want to be a little bit more clear that these are pointer types. All of this seems like, might seem silly. And, you know, for a small personal project, you do what you want. But if I'm working on like an actual project, if I'm working for a business, this stuff adds up. Being consistent, being clear, being concise, it adds up. Okay, so this no longer is dot connect. It becomes dot on destroyed. Yeah, I like that. Okay, cool. Now it's yelling at me about magic numbers, which is also fair, I guess. I don't know if I care about magic numbers in my unit test, though. It seems like a lot of code that probably isn't doing much right now. But trust. You just got to trust the process. We're building foundational pieces here to make everything work. Ooh, this got stuck on something. Okay. Clang Tidy is passing now. Go back to Windows. I already forgot what I implemented. I implemented children, child operations, get children, get parent. Oh, I wanted to add, I forgot. I wanted to add one other template object here. Not template object, template function. So auto, how do I want to do this? Template type object T. Auto get children, const, standard vector type T. This is going to be a crazy slow operation here, and there's some stuff we can do to kind of alleviate this if we wanted to consume a little bit more memory. We could store a reference to our children and a map of types. That way, when we go to perform this operation here, we can just collect that vector of types and static cast to the type. Do I do that now? Just be done with it and say like, hey, I'm going to consume a little bit more memory, but that's okay. Because we could do that. We could do that. I kind of want to do that. Kind of want to do that. Because that gets rid of the need to dynamic cast, which is slow as hell. So what we could do is use an unordered map. We need to include, what is it called? Is it type index? I think it's type index. It's basically the type, like the storage type you can use for type ID within a container. Standard type index, comma. Yeah, it gets it. Children by type. Is that what I want to call this? Children, type children. Type children. So then we need to update this guy. So we get the type ID of our child, store it in this container. This needs to be a function. We need to... Probably needs to be a private function. What do we call it? Auto remove type child. So parent remove type child. Nah, I can't say I can. It's probably not something I want to do. Not really what I'm about. What I'm trying to figure out is, do I want to probably wrap this in a function too, actually. Let's do that. Auto remove child. Ranges, find if, ranges, fine. That looks good. That looks good. No, this doesn't work. I still need, okay. This still needs to be like standard unique pointer object. I kind of want to invert this. If, yeah, there we go. All right, so this will return the remove child. So now I should be able to do, I don't think I need any of this. I think I should just be able to do auto remove child is parent remove child. If, no. Yeah, I guess I could. Oh, whoops. If remove child is null, return null. So I don't need this anymore, I don't think. If it's not null, then we could go to the next step, which is remove child by type. And I'm only ever calling this inside this class. So I don't think I even need... Probably do this by reference. Probably do it by const reference. I don't care about this right now. Bricka. All right, so now we can, when we call remove, which returns our unique pointer to us if we want to use it, we call parent remove child. If it's not null, then we remove child by type and return it. So now when we add child, we're adding by type, which makes sense. Add by type. So then when we call get children by type, all we have to do, well, we don't have to do any of this. Something like this, but we don't need dynamic cast. We can do static cast now. We don't need this check. We can just straight up do it. This is almost like a standard transform. Does ranges have transform? Looks like it does under algorithm. Forgot what I was doing. Okay, so we're going to return our type of children. We're going to get, this should be a vector. So basically, if we don't find our type in this container, if it is end, we just return an empty set of children. So we don't need this. So then we don't need, what we need to do is standard ranges transform. We pass in our found vectors, do a back inserter. Yep, that makes sense. Hey, Bayron, assuming I pronounce your name correctly. Building a game engine. Building a game engine using C++23, C++ modules, Raylib for the graphics. Currently on Raylib 5.5. I want to use Raylib 6.6, but I currently am running into some kind of busy wait issue that I haven't been able to resolve with Raylib 6. So we've had to step back to Raylib 5. And right now you're observing me build up foundational components for object handling for basically the building blocks of what's going to be in this engine. It's what's going to enable us to like piece things together, not dissimilar to how Godot does its node hierarchy or how Qt does its widget hierarchy. Same idea. Okay, so we do a transform of our objects. We'll do a static cast instead of a dynamic cast because we know we have our types based on our type map here. See if that compiles. It does not. Add child. Oh, did I accidentally get rid of? I sure did. Whoops. Perfect. All right, let's make sure the tests are good. Actually, let's make sure the current tests are good. I guess I could just click and run, right? Click. That ran, that ran, that ran. Ooh, expected equality of these values. We expected the parent to be null for this child when the child was removed, and it isn't. I think I know why. Yep, that's why. This is why you test. Okay, let's run it again. All right, that passes, 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 and passes. Sweet. So that looks good. And I want to add another type test. Test object get children of type. So we have a derived type. We add a derived type. We add a regular object. And then when we call get children, derived object should be size 1. At 0 should be child 1. Yep. And it passes. Perfect. I think I want to hop over to Linux again real quick to make sure Clang Tidy runs, because I don't think I have Clang Tidy working on Windows right now. I don't. All right, so let's hop over to Linux. Thinking about it. Someone messaged me. Okay. That builds. Let's run Clang Tidy on it. That succeeded. We are good. Hop back over to Windows. Get this committed. Implement object child operations. Cool. All right. So we've got some core object implementation up and running, so that's good. I think the next step is going to be the actual like engine timing controls and the different like phases of the engine. So in my executable here, I do have a simple application running right now. All right. Currently running at about 14,000 frames a second in debug. Excuse me. So this is a simple loop. We need to turn this into an actual loop with timing controls, especially to handle physics, things like that. So I think what I'm going to do... what am I going to do? I'm going to create Awen.ixx, I guess. We'll call it Awen. No, that's really a namespace thing. I guess I'll just call it engine. Be done with it. Okay, Awen core. Ooh, that's actually a good question. Does engine derive from object? It technically could, but I think it might be better if I just have engine accept a root object. I think that might be what I want to do. Well, so eventually I want to like be able to script this. And the engine might have its own properties. So yeah, maybe I do have it derived from object. Just be done with it. So it's not going to have an update function though. I like that. I do like that my autocomplete handled rule of 5 for me. Boom, rule of 5 handled. I didn't have to type it myself, so that's kind of nice. I don't think I need that. See if this compiles. Does not. Base class is undefined. Right. So here, I want to import Awen core object. Perfect. We want to make sure we have a test. Engine dot. So for simplicity's sake, I think we might be breaking a solid principle here. And have object do more than one thing. Is that what I want to do? Because I think I want to give everyone the option to handle update steps, whether the object is added or removed, events. What else? Events, added, removed, events, onload or startup, as I like to call it. The other option No, I think it'll be fine because you're only going to register your functions on the objects you care to handle for. I think. And I can always change it later. It's not the end of the world if this doesn't work out. So what I'm thinking is for object here, we have add child, blah blah blah. This is all the child operations. Let's do, we're gonna need like auto. Ooh, what do I call the frame functions? Do we just do update? So like update, standard, chrono, duration, probably just do float. And then we would also have like update fixed for a fixed time step kind of thing. So we could do something like that. something like that. So then anyone who derives from object or is using an object or wants to hook into the engine update steps, we just have this update function you can register your own like on update callback with. Updates this object and all its children. The update is performed by emitting the update signal, which can be connected to by any slot. The update signal is emitted with a duration parameter that represents the time elapsed since the last update. The update function also recursively calls the update function of all its children, passing the same duration parameter. If we didn't want to use recursion, we would just do like child.getChildren and then and use like a lambda or something in here. But I'm okay with this. It's probably fine. Just if anyone uses this, don't do hundreds of thousands of nested child objects, please. If you don't run out of stack, you'll run out of memory. Update fix. That looks okay. And we have the on update, so that looks okay. And it compiled. So I think the next step is getting a test added to make sure child objects are in fact getting updated. This is yelling at me because engine is not implemented yet. Well, guess I do need it. Shows you what I know. You know what we could actually do here? We could do that. Cool. Okay, so the engine. The engine is where we're going to be implementing the actual like running logic. Which means at a bare minimum, we're going to need auto.run. Okay. That's working. So for this run function, we're going to need chrono for keeping track of time. Time at which we start, which is going to be that. We're going to need a Boolean to know if we're running or not. Because that basically becomes while running. So we calculate our current time of now. Our elapsed time is now minus start, and then start becomes now. We're going to need to accumulate. So that's going to be like chrono, steady clock, duration, accumulate. This just becomes update elapsed. Update is undefined. Liar. Update is defined just fine. Stupid language servers not working with modules. So for our fixed time step, we're going to need a couple of things here. We're going to need a default frame limit of 5. Let's accept update limit. Default update limit. Well, that's not right. That's update fixed. We still want update. We're also going to need our interval time. Standard chrono, steady clock, duration, interval. Interval fixed. And that's going to require a default let's do 100 hertz. I like having clean physics steps because it's easier to do mental math in your head. Maybe on release it gets changed to like 60 hertz or even 30 hertz, something crazy, where you don't need to do as much processing each frame. But for now, let's do 100 hertz. Default update interval. Fixed update. Default update fixed limit. Update fixed interval. And this becomes interval update fixed interval. I don't like that. Interval update fixed. Well, update fixed interval, update fixed limit. Yeah, maybe it's okay. Update fixed interval. is the default. And then we also need update fix limit. Set that to default. So while the accumulated value is greater than, this needs to be while accumulate is greater than update interval and update limit is fixed limit is, nope, that's not right either. Auto count equals 0. While update interval is, while the accumulate is greater than the update interval and our count is less than the fixed limit, we do this. That's just crazy. That's not right. That's also not right. This needs to be the update fixed interval. Perfect. So this will help guarantee that we are staying at a fixed time frame pretty close to real world time. So I think I should probably get a couple of tests going here. I need a setter and getter for the update intervals. So auto set update fixed interval. That's not right. Oh, how does that look? Sets the limit of fixed updates that can be performed in a single run loop iteration. This limit is used to prevent the engine from performing too many fixed updates in a single run loop iteration, which can happen if the fixed update interval is too small or if the system is under heavy. Okay, this one's struggling. This is too much. We'll give it another try. Okay. So that's the limit of fixed updates that can be performed in a single run loop iteration. This is used to prevent the engine from performing too many fixed updates in a single iteration, which can happen if the update fixed interval is too small or if the system is under heavy load. The default value is 5, which means that the engine will perform at most 5 fixed updates in a single iteration. If the limit is reached, the engine will skip any remaining fixed updates until the next iteration. That's not a good comment. That's not describing what I'm trying to do. So it's called the spiral of, I think it's called the spiral of death. Software iteration spiral of death describes a vicious cycle where the development velocity suffocates due to an exponentially increasing burden of. Oh, okay, so this isn't. I forget what it's called, but basically, as you're iterating and processing, maybe this application's running on a system under load, or maybe someone is trying to stream while they're also playing a game, while they're also compiling code, while they're also watching a YouTube video. Anything and everything, like anything could be happening that's causing load on your system. Well, if that load is preventing this fixed update from running within its like given amount of time, then rather than iterating back through the entire game loop, which includes graphics, event handling, etc., it will instead, in a smaller, tighter loop, try and catch back up to get all the physics processes through. If we're under such load that it can't catch back up, then we've reached this limit and we will skip some frames to try and smooth out how the application is running. So that's what is really happening here. This is not a good this is used to prevent the okay, spiral of death problem. There we go. This is used to prevent the spiral of death problem where the engine gets stuck in an infinite loop of fixed updates if the update fix interval is too small or if the system is too slow to keep up with the updates. By setting a limit, the engine will skip any remaining fix updates if the limit is reached, allowing the main update loop to continue and preventing the engine from getting stuck. So that's what I'm doing. Set the interval at which fixed updates perform will be updates are performed. The engine will perform a fixed update every time the accumulated time since the last fixed update exceeds this interval. This allows for a consistent update rate for physics and other time-sensitive systems, regardless of the performance of the main update loop. By adjusting this interval, developers can balance the need for accurate physics updates with the performance constraints of their application. Good enough. Okay. Let's get this, have Clang Tidy look at it. Push that up. I know I'm out of drink. But hang tidy. Update is within a recursive call chain. Yeah, I get it. I know it's in a recursive call chain, but I think I'm okay with it. The only other thing we could do here is loop over all children. Like, we'd almost need a lambda to collect all of our children. Gotta rewrite it in Python? You're not wrong. Python's always the answer, right? I mean, you can pretty much do anything you want in Python. I think I'm going to acknowledge that I'm okay with the recursion for now. I could... It would basically be a while loop of... I would almost want like a... almost like a visitor function. Where is this? This is calling out line 41. Redundant. Got to make that const. That's fair. Mm. We're getting there. I am on Windows, but when I am compiling like this, I'm in a Linux dev container, Docker file, like Docker container, and it is Ubuntu 26 with Clang 22 and GCC 16. Oh. Okay, now we're good. So now that that's working, I'm going to swap back over to Windows by reopening this locally. And I can commit my changes. Implement engine run function. All right, we're close. Now I think the next step is probably just going to be to get this graphics window made into an object and maybe a couple of drawable components, and we effectively have a game engine. A very, very stupid, dumb, simple game engine, but we have one. So I'll be right back before I tackle that. I need to use the bathroom, and I need to re-up on my liquids. I wonder how the pipelines have been doing. Ooh. Wait, I thought I ran format. What? Son of a biscuit. Show white space difference? Are you kidding me? Fix formatting. Everything else is looking good. Still builds on Mac. That's good. Okay. So now, Raylib. This is core, so we're going to need a new library called Raylib? Do I call it Raylib? Hmm. Because I could have I would implement a drawable object. I gotta think. I think I will have a Raylib folder, but I guess before I can do that. No, I can still do that. Let's do that. I'll create a Raylib. Hmm. All right, I gotta think about this one. I'm gonna move this off the screen so I can look at it over here. So we're gonna add our project. We define our window. We say if this is for WebAssembly, if we are using the Inscriptin environment, we need to set use Raylib static or use static libs on. We need to define this. I believe that needs to be public. Then we say find Raylib, link against Raylib. We are going to need to link against Awen core. If we are not WebAssembly, we want to link against GLFW, which we have to add after Raylib because we're statically linking. And if we are on Win32, we need to link against WinMM because Raylib uses that. I think 6.0, this goes away. Okay, so that looks correct. Awen Raylib, use static libs, Raylib, link against it, link against Awen core, install. Okay. So then, for my app, I shouldn't need to specify that anymore. I shouldn't need to do this. I should be able to do this. I shouldn't need this or this. Because Awen Raylib is going to give me all of that. Public. Okay. So this becomes export module Awen Raylib window. That's fine for now. Add subdirectory given source test, which is not an existing directory. Currently on Windows, but I swap between Windows and Linux when I'm doing development, so I can just hit a button here and pop into my dev container, and I'll be in a Linux environment for compiling on GCC and Clang, or compiling with. Advice on how to proceed to learn programming with basic C++, STL. I don't see real path to using classes and vectors and so on to write a project of my own. Yeah, that's a tough one. I struggle with that too, and I've been doing this for 15 years. Like, what's a good project to work on? I just do what I know currently. I don't really know how to do a game engine, but I'm familiar with like modeling simulation frameworks, which are kind of similar. So like I know how to do the timing and stuff like that. So that's what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of learning myself. Um, I would start small. I typically recommend my like junior developers, especially if you don't know how like compilers work or how to link against a library or how to set up a C++ cross-platform project, then I would strongly recommend grabbing a graphics API like Raylib, which is what I'm using, or something like SFML, which is a C++ graphics library that's pretty easy to use. And I would just make like a quick game. Do like Pong, Snake, Pac-Man might be a little more complicated. What else is there? That block breaking game where you have a ball that flies up and breaks a block and then comes back down, something like that. Because that gives you practice on one, graphics, two, figuring out how to link against a third-party library, how to compile that third-party library, and then actually use the APIs of that library, which might cause you to have to go either look at how the code is implemented or look up their documentation. So it just like something seemingly so simple like a small Pong game or a Snake game actually becomes really involved if you've never done this before, right? because you got to know how to compile the project. You got to know how to link against your libraries. You gotta do some math, right? You're gonna have to implement some basic physics. You're gonna need to implement some time steps, input handling, graphics. You're gonna have to handle all that, right? And then what's the next step above that challenge? Get it running on whatever operating system you have. Now I challenge you to get it to run on another operating system. You get it running on Windows, great. Now get it running on Linux. You get it running on Linux, cool. Can you get it running on a Mac? Not everyone has access to a Mac. Fine. All right. Let's go a step above. Can you use the Emscripten SDK and compile the project for WebAssembly? That's when it gets really challenging, is because now you're using an entirely different tool chain that you're not familiar with to get it up and running, all from a simple Pong or Snake application. So that's what I would recommend. But if you could think of something else that is relatively simple but still challenges you to use like other people's software, like that's where it's at, right? That's where you're really going to get this figured out, is because you're going to see how other people write code and then either copy what they are doing or realize like what they are doing doesn't really fit with how you're mentally mapping your use of code, and maybe you come up with your own way of writing things, right? So that's what I strongly recommend. Absolutely. You're welcome. Does Raylib let you set the size? Ugh. That having you reinit the window? That seems crazy. There's no way. There's no way. See? Just like I said, it forces you to have to read another project's API, which is what I'm doing right now. Set min size. Set window size. There's a way. Okay. Set window size. Set width. Well, this is just nonsense. Raylib does not provide a function to get the window title. Really? Huh, you can get the clipboard text? That's kind of cool. No, it sure doesn't. That's fine. We can fix that. Wait, Raylib does have a way to set window title. I was lied to. Looks like you can set the position as well. Oh, it doesn't have a way to get the window title. That's fair. Okay. So I'll store it. We'll set it. Store it, set it. That looks good. Let's also do... Oh, shoot. Does it do... float? What does set position take? Set position takes an integer, but it returns a float. Ridiculous. Is that the same for screen width? Well, okay, so I guess you could technically move to a subpixel. What do I do? Trill, come here. Come here. What are you doing? Come on. Can you say hi? Hmm? Can you say hi? Hmm? All right. All right. I think my cat's hungry. I'll be right back. I don't know what to do about this. I think the answer might be to just treat position and size as a float. But I think I'm going to be changing some of this anyway here in a minute. So I'm not too worried about it. All right, so that built. So now what I can do is in my main app here. Oh, I need... Okay. So what I should be able to do now is something along the lines of we create the engine, and then I want the window. So window is engine.addChild Awen Raylib window width height Awen. So we do something like that. So that allocates the window. So I don't need this anymore. And then when it goes out of scope, I don't need this anymore. We still need this because I haven't like added any other API calls to this. But everything else should still work. Actually, I don't even need this return type. I can just ignore it for now. We use standard ignore because the memory will be owned by the engine. I can't use .run yet because this is kind of our loop, but I need to replace this with .run. Ignore is not a member of... I don't remember what header that's actually under. Utility. Defined in tuple and utility. Oh, it does not like that. Holy moly. What are we dealing with here? It doesn't like... Was not having any of these issues until... Okay. Weird. Okay, so that will ignore. And if this works, we should still get the window and everything. But it's going to be using my window wrapper instead of Raylib directly. And it works. We have 14,000 frames a second still. Cool. No one can really see... Something like that. Something like that. Oh my god, my cat is going crazy. What are you doing, Trill? What are you doing? What's wrong, buddy? I'll be back. I need to see what he needs. What are you doing? All right, so that shows up. People can see it. That's good. When I resize it, people see it get resized. That's good. Cool. All right, so the next step is this piece right here. I need to get this rolled into the window. But right now, so this would be during the render step, and I don't really have a render phase set up here. So we need to do that. And I think the easiest way, well, we could just toss in object, but I really don't want this object class to become like a monolithic class that does everything. I'm already pushing it as it is. So I'm thinking we're actually going to need like what would be a good name for this? I could use node. I could use widget. Widget is more like UI. So maybe node is the more generic term. Generic drawable, whereas widget is UI. I could throw it all in Raylib. Node would be like our scene graph type of situation, have a transformation, that kind of thing. The reason I'm saying that we need a node or something is I need a type that would handle a draw function, because that's what we need. We need our window to have a draw function on it that would get called and nest through all of its children. And so like the Windows draw function would be like begin draw, end draw, clear background kind of thing. And then maybe you add a camera, so it would be begin camera mode, end camera mode, so on and so forth, right? And my cat is back. What is your deal? What? Not letting you outside. You'll kill all of the wildlife. You will. I know you. You will murder everything in your sight. You're a savage. Ow, don't you bite me. Ridiculous. Oh my gosh, dude. Okay. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I need to add a draw step. The engine would invoke it still. So maybe I do just throw it on object anyway. So object will control like the different phases of an iteration. Because I basically need, so we call update here, we call update fixed here. I need a render here, right? So maybe that's what I do. Am I gonna need delta time for render as well? For like animation purposes, particle effects, that kind of thing? Well, maybe not, because I can just make use of the update function. That would be synchronized. I won't put it on for now. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. We'll see. Render, and then I need a on render function. And then I need to add auto render Do you feel like a type def for chrono duration would make sense? Probably. That's actually something I struggle with a lot. Is do I run around with something like this? Because it's like if you don't know, if you're not like a C++ person specifically, you'll see something like this and you go, what in the world am I looking at? What is a chrono duration float? What does that mean? Well, I know because I wrote this that it's seconds, right? It's fractions of a second because it's floating point precision. So if I wanted to, and you're probably not wrong, I would probably implement like a time object or something and just kind of have it handle all of that for me. That way I can get a floating point precision time. I just haven't made it there yet. What was I doing? Render. Okay. So that gives us render. Let's object test. Cool. Test is passing. All right, so that gives us our render. So now what I can do is in the window implementation, I can set up on render. Nope, that's not it. It would basically be, oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's not gonna work. I'm gonna I'm gonna need like a pre-render and a post-render as well. Learn the hard way. You don't alias the chronos. That's fair. I try like I especially try to not mess with the chrono APIs because they've done a really good job of like handling all the conversions for you. And so like for instance in my engine class here where I'm handling the timing, I'm not doing any like duration conversions. I'm basically saying, "Hey, give me the duration type that that platform supports," which I think for most platforms is at least milliseconds, if not nanoseconds. If I wanted to be explicit, I could just say nanoseconds here. But give me the type that that platform supports for the steady clock, and then just do some math with it, right? And then I let the implicit conversions handle the details for me. Is that better than? I don't know if that's the best way to do it. That's how I've done it. Okay, yeah. So this won't actually work like I thought because I'm gonna need a pre and post render to handle the begins and ends, which is okay because there will be other stuff we would want to use pre and post render for eventually. The downside to my current implementation for all of this is the unnecessary iterations into the children. We can eventually clean that up, but I'm not too concerned about it right now because the game I plan on making, we're talking like order of magnitude of 100 versus thousands. Yeah, you don't want to accidentally disable your ability to cleanly swap, move, return value optimization, all that fun stuff. Render. Let's see. I'm a sucker for broad to specific naming conventions here. So we'll do render pre, render post. Render pre, render post, all that looks good. I would say, like, I mean, for your personal project, you do you, but as like a developer who has had to use other people's software time and time again, it is the most annoying thing to have to track down what someone has typed def, because eventually, inevitably, you end up with like a type def of a type def of a type def. And I don't mean just like you're type defing one thing over and over. You are creating a type def or using inside a class or however you're placing it, and then that all of that gets wrapped up as like a template parameter to another container or class that takes a template, which then gets turned into another type def, right? And so if you're not careful, you like slowly but over time type def all the things, and then as like someone trying to use your software, I'm like, what the hell am I even using here? How do I use it? Hey Devtron, how's it going? Hey hey undefined. You should get that checked out. But I mean, for your own projects, you do you. I'm not here to like tell everyone how they should do their own personal projects, but you know, professionally speaking, once you start on the path of type defing everything, there's like no return. Yeah, you're not wrong. Float doesn't have the biggest precision. And you might be right. I might have to change it to double at some point. But I'm currently not accumulating like time for anything as specific. And if I am actually accumulating time, I'm not using float anyway, right? Like you don't use float to accumulate time. That would be that causes all kinds of problems down the road. Let's see here. Okay, everything compiled. So I need to make sure my tests are passing. Everything's good. Everything is good. Okay, so now that I got all that out of the way, I should now be able to use Raylib. I am not a game developer. I am a modeling and simulations developer, and I also work on like aircraft displays using C++, OpenGL, that kind of fun stuff. So like being aware of how timing works is kind of important. But because I'm not a game developer and I've never made an engine, I am at least trying to apply some knowledge that I have with a bunch of knowledge I don't have, and we'll see what happens in the end. It might be awesome. It will probably be amazingly terrible. You're 100% right, Devtron. I was just talking to someone else who was asking about where to start, and I was like, yeah, you just got to do like Pong or Snake because you learn so much. You learn how to use someone else's software, you learn how to compile someone else's software, link against it. You're going to have to read the documentation to figure out how to use their software. You're going to have to do physics to handle collision, stuff like that, time steps, right? Timing, event handling, input, etc. Like I'd say building a super simple game is a great first project to learn any language. And it's probably what I would do if like enough people are like, hey, we're sick and tired of you talking about how awesome C++ is when we know Rust is the best language ever. You should do Rust. Well, if I had to learn Rust, I would probably do so by making Pong, right? Okay, so I've got the window doing begin drawing, end drawing. Um, that would handle this. Oh, clear color. We should probably, oh, color. Oh, I need a color type. Um, I could, oh man, see, Breakout's a game I have not tried to make before, and I used to love playing that game as a kid. My mom had a one of those little Palm Pilots, and I would just play the crap out of that game. You were tortured with Calicia? Creating a game on TypeScript made platform I was tortured. I don't know what that is. I'm too scared to find out. Color. Let's see. I added color. I actually have this one implemented. Where was that? Whatever. Oh man, how is this defined? It's not really what I want to do. Smart namespace, struct, color. I think Snake was something I tried really early on, and I mainly focused on like the graphic nodes following each other. I don't think I ever got as in depth as you did. Oh, collision. Okay, got it, got it. Now I follow. I knew you were talking about. This is not how you want to do this. Let's do something like that to start with. Actually, I don't even know if I need that constructor. No, I don't use. No, we don't. Here in modern C++, we do not use unions. You hear me? There's probably a lot of people out there still using unions, and that's perfectly fine. You do you. But I have not touched a union in probably 10 years. Is it static inline or do I just do inline? Does inline work? It's been so long since I've had to do it this way. Unions are not safe. Unions allow you to access memory not as it was intended, right? So the context of how to use that union is pretty much stuck with the developer using that union. 20 years later, that developer retires. And now you have a code base with unions all over the place because no one said stop using unions, right? It is bug prone. It's easy to use wrong. And when I'm trying to write software, I want software that is easy to use, hard to use incorrectly. So if you have a need for a union, the answer is now to use standard variant. It's a little worse for wear, like from a typing perspective, but the overhead is non-existent, right? And it's safer. It gives you the tools you need to figure out what data is actually there. No, I'm not. I have not been able to use modules professionally yet. I'm only on C++ 20, and I am not personally. I am not comfortable enough with modules to be able to come up to a client and say, "Yeah, I can solve any problem you need. I'm just going to write it with modules." Right. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. Is I'm getting more comfortable and familiar with how modules work because I don't know how to like you're seeing what I know and what I don't know, right? Also, third-party libraries have a really hard time working with modules still, especially like header-only libraries that were never intended to be used with modules, and so you run into a lot of issues with those. But I like the less amount of typing and the fewer files I have to write. I will say that. Is this gonna This is gonna get me in trouble with Raylib's color type, isn't it? Yeah, like even the IntelliSense is already getting me in trouble with it. You freaking jerk. Let's try that. Oh yeah, the const expert access for all the different containers are freaking amazing. We're like, I don't know what all is coming in C++ 26, but it feels like maybe in 29 or 32, we're basically going to be able to run an entire C++ application by compiling it, which is just kind of crazy. Dude, what do you want? Huh? What? All right, hang on. My cat is continuously attacking me. I'll be right back. He has food. He has access to the garage. He just wants outside. And he wants to murder nature, and I can't let him do that. Unfortunately. I feel bad for him. He wants outside so bad. Okay, where did I go wrong here? Clear background. Oh, duh. Let's add a simple conversion. See how that works. It's gonna be such a pain. No. Stupid programming. Wait, you're substringing from date and time? Why aren't you using current location? Wait, isn't there sorry, I'm thinking function and line. But isn't there a isn't there a type for date and time now in Chrono? Now I'm curious. I'll show the cat when he comes back, because he will come back. Yep, as of C++20, we now have access to year, month, day, weekday. I also know we have access to hours, minutes, seconds, like as a type for Chrono. All right. This is being stupid. I'm going to see what the LLM says about this problem. Fix. Yes, C++ now has like actual like date, time, all that fun stuff. And I think it even like standard format even supports passing it in, and it will format the string for you. I think I haven't used it a lot. I used it like for one thing a while back, and like it worked. Oh, was I not supposed to tab out of this? Oh yeah, like modules are so cool, but there are still some like stuff that I don't know how to handle correctly. Oh, did you see the cat return? Are you kidding me? Did he? Oh, that little twerp. What are you doing? What are you doing, Trill? Huh? Come here. Come here. What are you doing? Sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. How's it going? You say hi? Hmm? Do you see yourself? Hmm? Yeah. Can you say hi? Hmm? Hi? Yeah. Ooh, that's an interesting solution. Oh wait, wait a minute. What was I not including Raylib? I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. No one saw that. We're gonna pretend like no one saw that. We'll just keep... Yes, I tried using import standard and it is freaking sweet. Again, if your third party libraries you are using don't support it, and by that I mean like your third party libraries and their header files also have to have like a flag or something set to call import standard, then you run into all kinds of like really weird esoteric errors that I just didn't want to spend, a month trying to debug and figure out a way to work around it. So until the day comes where I'm not using third-party libraries, it's going to be tough to use import standard. Okay. So now we have clear color. So that takes care of this. Should close. What do I do about this? Because I almost need a way to quit the engine. So actually, let me add that real quick. I need a way to quit. Auto run. Auto stop. And then this needs to get called when like a window close event occurs, which I don't really have access to right now. Eventually I'll implement event handling and then we'll deal with it that way. So I think I'll take a poor man shortcut here and cheat and say when should I check this? When should I check this? Probably at the beginning here. All right, so auto should, or actually I don't even need to do that. I can literally just do if Windows should close, except this is get parent. Ooh. Can I just do this? Get parent, dynamic. Actually, let's do auto engine equals get parent. If engine equals null, all hell's broke loose and we shouldn't be drawing anyway. Let's move this. All right, so if the window should close, the engine will stop. So that takes care of this. So the only thing left is I need a couple of drawables. I think... trying to decide how much of a scene graph do I want versus having less components you have to manage. Like, does everything just have a position and say deal with it? Because that's one less node you have to manually create every time you do want transformation. Hmm. Dude, what? What? File system introduced native cross. Oh yeah. I mean I when I started programming, I was working on a project that already was using Boost. And so Boost already provided like shared pointer, file system. I think those were the big ones. Shared pointer file system, ASIO, of course. It already had provided those, so I didn't need to wait for C++14 to get those. But once C++14 came around, though, you better believe I swapped over to using standard file system. That one was huge. And you wouldn't believe how many like code bases even today that are still like they still have their own implementation of handling files and paths and stuff like that. Yeah, Boost is basically the reason. Yeah, Boost is used as kind of like how you like. So when someone goes to add a new feature to C++, there's going to be a white paper that describes like the problem they're trying to solve, how they're going to solve it, and how all this is going to work. Well, a lot of the times you're going to need proof, right? And so a lot of people use Boost to add their new feature into a working set of libraries so that people can actually use, refine, and improve the APIs, that kind of thing. And now you basically have an implementation you can point to for adding that new feature to C++. Hey, BYK. My weekend's going pretty well so far. Just doing a lot of C++ right now. Some of the viewers landed on wanting me to do the C++ stuff from scratch versus like using Qt. So that's where I'm at. But I'm not going to do everything from scratch. If a third-party library exists, I am going to use it. I'm too lazy. Programming's hard. I don't want it to be too difficult. Okay, so this will give us our on render to start with. I don't really want to mess with anything else. So then what I can do is in main, I should be able to add text. So I think that's enough. I'll worry about the draw FPS later. Actually, the draw FPS, I could just bake it into the window for now. and do it on a on render post. We'll do draw FPS. Take care, BYK. So great question. Do you go with IXX or CPPM? I don't know. Because of course C++ can't land on a standard way of naming your extensions, right? The only thing I don't like about CPPM is it's 4 letters in an extension versus 3. And just visually, like when you're looking at files, having like a 4-letter extension versus a 3-letter extension is kind of annoying. But I do acknowledge that like CPPM is probably a little bit more explicit with like what the file is versus trying to figure out what IXX stands for, which is basically Microsoft's module interface file. I just went with IXX because literally when I Googled what the standard extension was like a year or two ago, it was IXX because the other compilers hadn't like had anything up and running yet. And so that's kind of what I just stuck with. C++? Is that even allowed? Hang on. I gotta try that. Oh my god. That's... Oh no. I did not need to know that. Colors. Apparently. I just found out too. I mean, you shouldn't. Personally, I don't think you should. That also seems like a recipe for disaster. All right, guys. Let's see if I officially have a game engine running now. Oh, wait. This would just exit. I need to do engine.run. So just a pure raw loop and debug was getting me about 14,000 frames a second. I wonder how many frames I'm going to lose. My suspicion is the most performance degrading operation I am doing is this thing right here every frame. Oh. Oh, you know what? I think I know what it is. Hang on. When I start, or when I run for the first time, I need to set running to true. That's supposed to be a black background with orange text. Does anyone see that? Ooh, my vertical viewers. Nope. Yeah, it's white. Okay. Huh. I'm sure that's a feature, not a bug. Clearly getting stuck somewhere. Oh. Maybe I'm getting really stuck. So draw text keeps getting called. Yeah, I screwed something up. I might know what it is. So we come into run, we call render. Render loops through all children, which would be the window. Oh. First try. Oh, look at that. First try, people. All right, I am still rocking like 13 to 14,000 frames a second, so at least a single dynamic cast isn't causing too many issues. Did it not just rename the solution file inside the solution, not the real file? I'm not sure what you were looking at. So when I build, it builds the files like any CMake project would and places all your like temporary files in here. But I have an extra step for the installation set here for my preset so that after it finishes building, it copies everything into this installed directory so that I can test it as if it were like deployed. And so this is what I'm running off of. As a lib folder. Apparently, when you install modules as headers, they still show up here. Interesting. I've not linked against anyone. I have not linked against a C++ library written purely in modules. So this will be a first. And then it auto-generates my CMake configuration file so that you can find my libraries. You're hurting my heart. Don't use unions. Use standard variant, please. Actually, because I'm using Clang Tidy, it straight up yells at me if I use unions because it's such a problem. And so, like, I literally, like, my code won't compile if I try to use unions. Okay, so that's a good snapshot in time. So I want to make sure. I want to make sure that Clang Tidy passes. I want to make sure my code is formatted. And I also want to make sure I get a test for that color function I wrote. I don't know if you can. Like GLM, that's a math library I use that uses unions. Again, like a variant is a union, it's just type safe, right? There's no overhead to it other than the fact that like if you choose to make an additional check to verify the data is valid for its type. Now, if you're trying to do like memory tricks where you assign bytes to one field to generate like a different number in another field in that union, I mean, that's just something you accept, right? I haven't had to write any code that way. There's obviously like very performant ways to write code that is not safe. And then you end up having conversations with people about why Rust is so much better, right? Things like that. Okay, that passes. Cool. All right, so I'm going to hop over to Linux here into my container. Dude, cat, what are you doing? Okay, we're good. We cool. All right. Make sure it compiles for Clang. Oh, I got straight up compilers. This is why at least from a professional perspective, we're always using more than one compiler, because stuff like this, as you saw, like MSVC didn't catch this. And sometimes GCC will catch things that Clang won't, or Clang will catch things that GCC won't. And I'm sure there's some flags I don't have set that would have helped me catch that. Let's see. Width is not used. Is that true? Oh. Yeah, I guess that's true. I'm not setting it anywhere. With title, I really should... MSVC has gotten a lot better over the years. A lot better. I think 2019 or 2022 is kind of when it cleaned up its mess. Plus, its STL implementation is open source now, so I'm sure that has helped. I'm losing track of what I was looking at. Field height will be initialized after. Oh yeah. Gotta make sure your initialization order is correct. What do we got? Title comes first, followed by width and height. Title comes first. Dang it, I did it again. Clang tidy go. Ooh boy. Okay, so what did I get wrong? Adjacent arguments are of the same parameter type, which is bug prone. Because it's easy to pass in height instead of width. Right. So we need... What's the issue? Traits.title. Default member initializer for title needed within definition of enclosing class window. Rebuild. Sometimes rebuild. Default member initializer for title needed within definition of enclosing class window. Oh, wait. Is it down here? Trying to get better error reporting here. I don't know. Public. All right, I'm just going to move this. I wonder. I got to sit up for this one. Title is redundant. Oh. I'm not letting you outside, dude. It's not happening. Hey. Stop. Not happening. Oh. Wait a minute. I know. Okay. That's C++ for you. I think I know what's going on. It's the error is not actually here. Unused parameter. Am I crazy? It looks pretty used to me. Unused parameter. The error is Clang limitation. The trait struct default member initializers reference default title, but window is incomplete. Okay, that's why okay. There's no, okay, hang on. So let's verify that's actually the case. I don't think that's the case. Because I was originally thinking that, which is why I moved traits outside the window. But we ran into the same error. Okay, so what is actually happening here? Is this just a Clang error? I wonder if this works on GCC. Compile. Oh boy. GCC has its own errors. Oh my gosh. What have I done? Oh boy, what have I done? Oh, I think I know what's going on there actually. I might have to define, and then I also need to do do I have to include type info wherever I use add child? Is that what's happening? Or do I need to export my import? Oh, this is getting annoying. I've ran into this types of issues before with like this type information stuff with modules because of this header nonsense. Brace and close initialization list. Is that what it doesn't like? All right. I'm gonna throw this at the LLM, and then I'm gonna go heat up some food. But if I can get this compiled, I'm probably gonna call it here. because I am tired. But I'll be right back. Two issues. GCC modules doesn't propagate global module fragment includes through import when 6 slots. Oh, it's 6 slot. I did run into this. Type ID calls are instantiated. Type info must be visible in those translation units. Default argument error can't deduce the empty brace init to const traits in this context, likely cascading from the same module instantiation issue changed to traits. Where is that window? So we're doing this instead. Dude, it is really struggling with my traits object. What are you doing? Relax. Problem with using something like modules if you're not familiar with it, because I don't know, I'm not used to these types of errors. Default member initialization required before the end of its enclosing class. Windows traits width required before the end. I'm really thinking I just moved traits out of the window class and move these with it, but we'll see. This still doesn't work. Should we move traits out of the window class and define the defaults under traits? Be right back. Food's done. I don't know. It's kind of annoying. Didn't get very far with Dart. Ended up having conversations with some of the viewers about interviewing and what they should know. So I decided to continue chatting with the viewers, and then after that, we decided that being able to follow along with a C++ project would be a little better. I did do a small dive into the Flame framework, which was for the like using Flutter Dart as a game engine. And looking at it, it was really like straightforward, object oriented, not very dissimilar to what I'm doing right now. So I was like, well, I could just implement all this in C++ and call it a day, and then we could just use C++. So that's what I'm doing. But with modules, which is something I'm not yet comfortable with. So as you see, I am running into things that I'm not sure why they are becoming issues. So I don't need. What should I do? I don't need. I don't think I need this anymore. Yeah, probably. I could do that. It's probably about the same. You're talking what, 8 bytes versus 8 bytes and well, I guess a string view is like another pointer, right? So 16 bytes total to pass in. So usually what I do as a default, so I don't have to sit there and stress about whether I should pass by const reference or value, is all plain data types, ints, longs, long longs, doubles, floats, etc. Anything that's basically like um 8 bytes or less, it's always passed by value no matter what. Um Custom types, structs, that kind of thing, it might be better to pass by value versus reference. I just don't stress about it too much. I just move on. And so I have this like in my head, just this default way I write code. And if it's anything more complicated than a plain data type, then it's const ref. Now that being said, if it's a movable object, then we're back to passing by value, because then you get benefits of like copy elision, move, etc. Yeah, no kidding. Oh, whoops. That's crazy. So even GCC didn't catch that. I accidentally set that to default. And I'm on GCC 16. Okay, there we go. I do like that C++ now allows this trailing comma. That has helped immensely for formatting. Ugh. Text width? What do you need text width for? Stupid AI. So I'll need to update this text object with actual parameters so that these can be modified. But I'll do that next time I'm on. Maybe, if I remember. It's not required. Oh. Whew. All right, we're getting there. We're almost there. Jesus, still got some problems. Value stored to text during its initialization is never read. Hey, that's the thing though, right? Rust is strict by default. I choose for C++ to be just as strict. C++ can be just as strict. It requires additional tools. Rust, you get it all out of the box. But you can be strict with C++ as well. Result of data call may not be null terminated. Provide size information to the callee to prevent potential issues. I don't understand why it's crying about all of this. Don't need this. Yeah, const expert is awesome. Const init and const eval, those are two other keywords that I should probably start using because I've never used them. I think they offer different guarantees of compile time evaluation and initialization. This is not playing nice with trying to pass in. I don't know why. Lambda capture is not required. This might just be, so the downside is sometimes you do run into weird bugs that Clang Tidy has. It's not perfect. I'm just trying to verify it's actually a bug or if there's a legit issue I'm not aware of. Value stored to text during its initialization is never read. That just sounds like a Clang Tidy error because it's clearly getting read here. And this is hello Awen. So if this is working, we should see it. Yeah, it's working. So I think this is a LLM issue or a LLVM issue, Clang issue. I think it's getting this one wrong. I mean, it's at the end of the day, you know what? Since it's going to become a member variable anyway, so I could just do string text, just be done with it. Can be made static. Okay, I'm not. Gosh darn it, this stupid. Sometimes Clang Tidy is annoying. I mean, I am using these, so I might as well. The only problem is on render post, I probably need to do it here. I need to update width equals screen width, height equals screen height. What do these return? These return integers. We'll do that. So then here I can actually return width here. I mean, it is rightfully calling me out for not writing correct code. So I will give it credit there. It's just annoying. And I'll probably need to do the same thing for position. Do I have position int width height? What do these return? Integers as well. Oh, those are my functions. Get window position. Underlying type. So that's like, for example, do I have an example actually? I will have examples. I don't think I have one right now. It can mean a couple of things, right? The important thing, like standard underlying type, for instance, if you define an enum, ooh, here's a good one. Yeah. So we are taught, or at least like back in the day, especially if you're coming from a C background, you define an enum, you create something like this, right? You have some kind of enum. Maybe you give it 1, 2, 3, right? And then you can say type equals type 2, right? So that assigns a value to an enum. But there's a problem with this. If you're writing C++ code today, you are not writing it like this, or you better not be. Okay? A couple of things. This is not type safe. So let's move this up here, and you'll notice a theme whenever I start talking about how to write C++. Type safety. I'm not really going to do anything with this. I'm just going to... Right. Actually, we can do a print. Nah, I don't want to go into too much detail. I'm trying to get off here. So with this foo function that you can pass in a type X, that means I can do something like this. I can say foo type 1. Awesome, right? It's using your enum. That's exactly what you want. I can also do foo type 2. Sweet. 3, so on and so forth. You know what else I can do? Foo 51. Like that would be allowed, right? Now, with all of the clang tidy and the compiler flags I have turned on, hopefully it catches that. And if I mouse over, it might even tell me. Oh, it's just saying 51's a magic number. It's not even like getting on me about the fact, okay, yeah, it'll let me cast it, right? But this is valid. Why? Because enum by default, it's basically just an integer. These are just integer constants, right? So what is the underlying type of an enum? It's an integer. But now in modern C++, you can be more specific. You can be more type safe. So what do? Instead of enum, you do enum class. And instead of not specifying an underlying type, you can specify an underlying type like integer. Or if you're not going to use all like 2 million value ranges of an integer, then maybe you only need a handful. You can use standard unsigned int 8t, right? To make your underlying type smaller. So then if you use like standard underlying type, it will return you uint 8t or integer or whatever the underlying type of your enumeration is, right? And on top of that, I was hoping it would show, but I don't think it's going to show. Yes. Okay. So perfect. So on top of that, when you use enum class, you get this error, candidate function not viable. No known conversion from integer to type for first argument, right? Type safety. So you're relying on the compiler to let you know when you've accidentally written a bug. When you remove that class, you make this a non-scoped enum. So if you need to Google something, what you're looking for is called a scoped enum, COPED, scoped. Without that, you enable your code base to allow inputting just arbitrary values, and that's wrong. That's just straight up wrong. If you intended arbitrary values to be entered, well, then you need to consider that maybe an enum wasn't the solution you should have been going for. Maybe it should have just been an integer, right? So type safety, you're always looking to make your parameters, the code, the values you're going to input into a parameter, you're making it so that the compiler catches potential bugs, right? Make your code easy to use, hard to use incorrectly. Don't use C-style enums in C++ code. Don't do it. Ever. Not like, oh, but what about this? Oh, but what about this? No, don't you do it. Don't ever do it. Scoped enums only. I don't care. But what about no? Create an overload. No C-style enums. Stop it. And again, I don't make any of this up myself. If you read the CPP core guidelines, it gives you all the details you need. You are allowed to cast your enum to whatever value type you need. No C-style enums. Yes, it's a little bit more typing, but it's explicit. So someone else reading your code base knows you actually intended for that enum to be treated like an integer value. If you didn't have that, then you allow your API to work with anything, even when you did not intend it to work with it, right? Type safety. Do it. Cannot assign to non-static data member within const member. Shit, my setters were const? Whoops. No. Stop. If you need to use enums as indices, then you don't need enums. You want constant integers, right? It's all about being explicit with what you intend your code to be used as. And obviously none of this is like concrete, right? Like it's C, it's C++. You can literally write your code to do whatever you want. But if you want maintainable, readable code, especially if others are going to be using it, save yourself a headache down the road. Type safety. I will beat this into your guys' heads if it's the last thing I do. Write code that is easy to use, hard to use incorrectly. So when you're writing an interface and you go, can someone use this incorrectly? How hard is it to use incorrectly? Oh, you just need to enter any integer value and now it's being used incorrectly? Well, shit. There's probably something wrong with my API design. He says as he begins to ignore the warnings that Clang Tidy tells him he should pay attention to. Do as I say, not as I do. Enumerated arrays. What do you mean by that? Like you're storing your enums inside an array? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if it's not what I would recommend. If you absolutely need to enumerate indices into an array, then the chances are it's not an enum that you actually need. It's a list of constant integers, right? And these are all like general guidelines and rules of thumbs. Like I said, obviously you can do what you want if that's what you want to do. It's just I'm not doing it. And it also depends on like how you're actually like what your access patterns are, right? Because if maybe the index into array might not be what you need. Maybe it's a hash map that does take your enums as keys, right? It just depends. But a lot of the times, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of the times, like indexing into an array is also error prone. Go figure. It's not memory safe because it's easy to input the wrong value because you're using an enum that isn't type safe. So now you enable anyone to access your array with any range of values, even though you're using enums and those enums are the only valid range, but they're not type safe. So now I get to index into your array with -1, right? There's different ways to write your code based on what you're trying to achieve. So maybe indexing into an array was the wrong solution to begin with. But it's easy because it's like it's just how you're used to thinking about the problem. All right, Clang Tidy is passing. I think we are at a very good stopping point. We made a good amount of progress in 4 hours. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun. So, I managed to convert like 10 lines of code. Let's see. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. I managed to convert like 10 lines of code to 9 lines of code. And all I had to do was write like a couple hundred lines of code. That's progress. I'm going to go ahead and get these committed. Working window and text object. I don't know if I'll be on tomorrow or not. Like I said, on the weekends, it's kind of hit or miss depending on how busy I am. But during the week, I was talking to some viewers yesterday. The goal is to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5:30 Eastern programming. A lot of it will probably be focused on building up this game engine. I want to get this set up to where I can automatically pull it down as a dependency for an actual game that I'm making. You guys have seen Briarthorn at this point. You're aware of it. I want to be able to link it, use CMake to find the libraries I'm building, link it, pull it in, and then use it to build up my game as I'm developing this so I can figure out what features. Otherwise, if I don't have something to focus on, I'm just going to start throwing stuff willy-nilly, and, we're not going to make any progress on anything. It's just going to be me writing a bunch of text, which isn't as fun, at least not for me. Tuesday, Thursday is basically mental rest day, right? I mean, I'm still coding during the day, so I'm still going to be exhausted. But to try and alleviate me having to code 70, 80 hours a week, Tuesday, Thursday, 5:30 Eastern, I'm going to probably play games. I'm playing Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition right now, so that's 1. 2, I might also swap to doing something maybe a little more competitive, like Rocket League. I'm a huge Rocket League fan. I also like playing World of Warcraft. I'm trying to decide if I want to do like vanilla hardcore or if I want to continue doing retail. I have retail with a couple of friends I play, or something else entirely, or some other story-based game. I'm not sure. But that's what I'm looking to do Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, programming of some kind. All of it 5:30 Eastern until something comes up in life. I'm not doing this full time, so I don't really have like time set aside to guarantee I'll be here. And then the weekends are up in the air. If I show up, I show up. If I don't, I don't. But yeah, made a lot of progress. A lot more progress than I thought. We've got the makings of a potential game engine where we can build up like nodes to kind of describe how we're going to implement this. I have all kinds of other features I do want to eventually add. Hot reloading with some kind of scripting language would definitely be up there as one of the features I'd like to add. We'll have to see what that looks like. Maybe a plugin based architecture, so it's easy to extend the engine if I need to, handle different scripting languages. that kind of thing. Maybe handle different rendering backends. We'll see. This is really just a project to show off some C++ while I chat with you guys. So we'll we can do whatever we want, honestly. But yeah, that's where I'm gonna leave things, and I will hopefully catch some of you the next time I'm on. Have a good rest of your day and the rest of your evening, and I will see you next time.